The sun beat down on Graceland, a golden haze shimmering over the velvet lawns and stately columns. Inside, the king was restless. Not the kind of restless that sent him tearing through the Memphis streets in a Cadillac, though he'd done plenty of that lately. This was a deeper kind of unrest, a quiet hum beneath his skin that even the roar of a live audience couldn't quite silence. Elvis Presley, the biggest star in the world, paced his living room. His satin robe trailed behind him. A forgotten coffee cup sat on a nearby table, its contents cold. He'd just finished a successful string of shows in Vegas, the crowds adoring, the reviews glowing. Yet something felt incomplete, like a melody missing its final, crucial chord. He ran a hand through his perfectly coiffed hair, a frown etched on his handsome face. "It's like I got everything, boys," he'd told Joe Esposito, his ever-present companion and road manager, just that morning. "The music, the fans, the home, but there's a piece missing, something I ain't quite put my finger on." Joe, ever practical, had suggested a new car, maybe a private jet. Elvis had just shaken his head. "Nah, Joe, it ain't that kind of empty. It's a feeling like I need something to keep me grounded, something to remind me of what truly matters even when the lights are blinding." He walked over to the grand piano, idly running his fingers over the ivory keys. A soft, melancholic tune drifted through the silent room. He thought about his band, his Memphis Mafia, the loyal crew who were more like brothers than employees. They were his rock, his foundation. They shared his triumphs and his late-night musings. He loved them fiercely, and he wanted a way to honor that bond, to signify their shared purpose. Lately he'd been sketching, not song lyrics, but strange symbols on napkins and notepads, stars, lightning bolts, even abstract shape. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he knew it had to be bold, unique, and meaningful. Something that captured the essence of who he was and who they were as a unit: speed, power, loyalty, a commitment to getting things done. He felt an intense urge to make that feeling tangible. He wandered into his den lined with records and awards, picked up a solid gold record, its weight familiar in his hand. Gold, it felt right, strong, enduring. But what shape? What design? Closed his eyes, picturing a symbol that would resonate with his spirit. A personal creed solidified in metal and stone. "Take care of business," he murmured aloud, almost a whisper. It was a phrase he used constantly, a mantra for living life on his own terms, for doing what needed to be done, no matter the obstacle. It was about loyalty, about family, about pursuing his passion with unwavering dedication. Taking care of business, TCB, a sense of of purpose. He imagined it emblazoned on something, but what a necklace too common. A belt buckle, maybe, but he wanted something more personal, more constant. Something that would be with him always on his hand, visible, a constant reminder, a ring. The idea sparked in his mind like a flashbulb. Not just any ring, but the ring, something that would embody taking care of business, a symbol of his commitment to his craft, to his family, to his loyal crew, and to himself. It had to be powerful, unmistakable, a reflection of the king himself. He opened his eyes, the vague restlessness replaced by a nascent excitement. This felt right. This felt like the missing piece. Now the challenge was finding someone who could bring this vision to life. Someone who understood the unspoken language of a legend, who could translate a feeling into a tangible, wearable masterpiece. He knew it wouldn't be easy. Most jewelers offered stock designs, glittering trinkets for show. He needed an artist, a craftsman who could pour heart and soul into a piece just as he poured his into his music. He needed someone who understood that this wasn't just jewelry. It would be a declaration, a symbol of his very creed. Elvis walked to the window, gazing out at the bright Memphis sky. The hum beneath his skin was still there, but now it was different. It was a hum of anticipation, of discovery. He didn't know where he would find this craftsman, or what the final design would look like. But he knew one thing: he wouldn't rest until he found it. The quest for his TCB was about to begin, and a legend, though he didn't know it yet, was about to be forged. The days that followed were filled with a subtle, focused energy for Elvis. He was still the king, still performing, still recording, but a new current ran beneath his usual whirlwind of activity. He was searching, not overtly, but keeping an eye out, asking discreet questions. He'd visit jewelry stores, pretending to browse for gifts, but secretly assessing the craftsmanship, the originality, the spark in the designer's eyes. And always he felt a slight disappointment. Nothing quite captured the raw power and meaning he envisioned. One afternoon, while flipping through a stack of magazines in his study, a particular article caught his eye. It wasn't about jewelry directly, but about unique artisan workshops across America, focusing on old-world techniques and custom creations. A small black and white photo showed a man hunched over a workbench surrounded by tools and what looked like molten metal. The accompanying text spoke of a master jeweler named Albaro, known for his unconventional designs and his meticulous attention to detail, working out of a small, nondescript studio. In Los Angeles, Elvis spent a lot of time there for movie shoots and recording sessions. It wasn't too far-fetched. The article mentioned Albaro rarely worked with celebrities, preferring to create pieces with deep personal meaning for his clients, often turning them away if he felt the connection wasn't genuine. This intrigued Elvis even more. He didn't want a showman. He wanted a craftsman who cared about the art. He tore out the page. A flicker of hope igniting this Albaro sounded like he might be different. He shared the article with Joe. "See this, Joe? Unconventional designs, meticulous attention. Sounds like he knows what he's doing. Find out about this fella, Joe. Ever efficient. Made some calls." It turned out Albaro was indeed a reclusive genius, known for crafting pieces that were more art than jewelry. He was famously selective about his commissions, often declining jobs that didn't pique his creative interest. Getting an appointment was difficult even for Elvis. "He's got a waiting list," Joe reported back, scratching his head. "Says he only takes on a few special projects a year. And he doesn't care much for fame." Elvis grinned. "Even better means he ain't gonna be starstruck. Tell him I got a vision. Tell him it ain't about flash, it's about soul. Tell him I got a story to tell, and I need his hands." After a few more persistent calls from Joe, Albaro surprisingly agreed to a preliminary meeting. He stipulated it had to be at his workshop. No entourage, just Elvis. He wanted to meet the man, not the legend. A few weeks later, on a rare break from his schedule, Elvis found himself in a quiet, almost hidden street in LA. The workshop was unassuming, tucked between a dusty antique shop and a faded diner. No grand signs, no flashy displays, just a simple wooden door. Elvis, dressed in a simple shirt and jeans, felt a strange mix of nerves and excitement. He was used to being mobbed, to being the center of attention. Here he was just a man with an idea. He pushed open the door. The air inside was thick with the scent of metal, chemicals, and something else. Creativity. The space was dimly lit, cluttered with tools, unfinished pieces, and trays of glittering stones. In the center, under a bright work light, sat Albaro. "Mr. Presley," Albaro said, his voice surprisingly soft. "Come in. I wasn't sure you'd make it." "Wouldn't miss it," Elvis replied, his famous charm immediately kicking in, though he felt a slight unease at not being instantly recognized as the king. It was refreshing in a way. Albaro gestured to a worn wooden chair opposite his workbench. "So you're looking for a ring, I hear." He picked up a small, intricately carved silver bird from his bench, turning it in his fingers. "I specialize in pieces that tell a story, not just pretty things." Elvis nodded, feeling a surge of understanding. "Exactly. That's why I came. This ain't just about a ring, Mr. Albaro. It's about a creed, a way of life. It's about what I believe in, what me and my boys live by." Albaro listened, his eyes still fixed on the silver bird, occasionally glancing up at Elvis. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to sell. He simply absorbed. Elvis leaned forward, his voice earnest. "I want something that represents taking care of business. TCB. It's my motto. It's about speed, about loyalty, about getting the job done for me, for my family, for my fans, for my crew. We're a unit, a family. And I want something that shows that." He picked up a small notepad and a pencil, his movements precise. "TCB," he murmured, writing the letters down. He looked at Elvis, a faint smile touching his lips. "I think I understand, Mr. Presley. You don't want a piece of jewelry, you want a symbol." Elvis felt a profound sense of relief. He'd found him, the craftsman who saw beyond the fame to the heart of the idea. This was the glimmer of gold he'd been searching for, the first step toward bringing his vision to life. The initial meeting with Albaro stretched into hours. Elvis, usually impatient, found himself captivated by the jeweler's quiet intensity and profound understanding. Albaro asked questions, not about Elvis's fame or fortune, but about his values, his friendships, his philosophy on life. He wanted to understand the spirit behind taking care of business. So, taking care of business style. Albaro mused, sketching on his pad. His pencil moved with an almost surgical precision, lines forming and dissolving. "It's about loyalty, about a brotherhood, about action." "Exactly," Elvis affirmed, leaning forward. "It's about loyalty to the people you love, like my boys in the Memphis Mafia. It's about making sure everything is handled, from the stage show to making sure my mom is comfortable. It's about my music." Albaro nodded, his eyes sparkling with an inner vision. "And the visual representation? What does that evoke for you?" "Speed, power." Elvis thought for a moment. He then drew a stylized T, then a C, then a B. He looked at them, then pushed the letters together, overlapping, interlocking them. The T, the C, the B, it was still just letters, but the way he connected them, there was a sense of motion, of unity. Elvis leaned in, a spark in his eyes. "Now you're talking. I like how they fit together like a family, like us." Albaro continued to sketch, his hand moving fluidly. He added a small, sharp flourish to the T, extending it into a subtle point, like a dynamic arrow. He then connected it with the C and B in a seamless flow. It was evolving, taking on a life of its own on the page. "And the lightning bolt," Albaro said, tapping his pencil. "You mentioned speed. What if it wasn't just a separate symbol, but integrated, running through the letters, like an electrical charge?" Elvis's eyes widened. "Man, that's it. A lightning bolt, not just beside it, but part of it. Like the energy flows right through the TCB. That's brilliant, Albaro. Pure genius." Albaro finally looked up, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips. "It's a powerful symbol, Mr. Presley. Very powerful. It embodies dynamism, purpose. And it needs to be gold," Elvis added. "Solid gold and diamonds, a lot of diamonds. Not just for flash, but because they're eternal, unbreakable, like the bond I want this ring to represent." Albaro's eyes assessed him. "You're talking about a significant piece, Mr. Presley. Not just a bauble. It will take time, and it will require the finest materials. Time and money ain't an issue." Elvis waved his hand dismissively. "Meaning is, this ain't about showing off. This is about solidifying something real, something personal." Albaro nodded, understanding. He picked up a rough lump of gold, shining dully on his bench. "This is 18-karat gold, strong, pure. And the diamonds, I have a selection of flawless, brilliant cut stones. They will catch the light just as you catch the attention of a stadium." Elvis felt a thrill run through him. This was it. The raw potential, the tangible promise of what this ring would become. He imagined it on his finger, catching the stage lights, a personal beacon of his philosophy. Albaro spent the next hour showing Elvis different cuts of diamonds, explaining the process of casting gold, the intricate work of setting stones. He spoke of the fire and brilliance of a diamond, the malleability of gold, and the centuries-old techniques of a master jeweler. Elvis listened intently, absorbing every detail. He wasn't just commissioning a piece, he was learning about the art, about the dedication it would take to create something truly exceptional. Before Elvis left, Albaro had a preliminary sketch ready. It was rough, but the core of the TCB lightning bolt design was there. It was bold, dynamic, instantly recognizable, yet deeply personal. "I'll work on a more detailed drawing," Albaro said, handing Elvis a small card with his private number. "And then we can discuss the exact specifications. This will be a one-of-a-kind piece, Mr. Presley, a true original." Elvis took the card, his fingers tracing the sketch on the notepad. It wasn't just a drawing, it was a promise. Promise of something that would fill the void, something that would represent the very core of his being. He had arrived, restless and searching. He left with a blueprint for a legend. The glimmer of gold had become a tangible vision, and the journey to creating his TCB ring was truly underway. Back in Memphis, Elvis couldn't stop talking about Albaro. He described the jeweler's quiet intensity, his deep understanding, and the way he seemed to intuit Elvis's unspoken desires. The Memphis Mafia, used to Elvis's enthusiasms, listened with a mix of curiosity and amusement. "This ain't just some regular ring, boys," Elvis would declare, often brandishing the preliminary sketch Albaro had given him, even though it was just a few lines on paper. "This is going to be something else, something that means something." Concept of taking care of business had been a phrase among them for years, a shorthand for loyalty, efficiency, and getting things done. But now, with the prospect of a physical emblem, it was taking on a new, almost sacred significance. Albaro sent over a more refined drawing a few days later. It was breathtaking. TCB letters were intertwined with elegant power, the lightning bolt cutting through them like pure energy. It looked strong, artistic, and undeniably Elvis. He wanted the TC and B to be raised slightly, creating a three-dimensional effect, making the lightning bolt appear to pierce through them. "See how the bolt kind of strikes through the letters?" Elvis pointed it out to Joe. "That's the speed, the power. That's us always moving, always doing." The drawing showed the ring as a substantial piece, not delicate or flimsy. It was designed to make a statement, to be noticed. The band itself was thick and solid, a foundation for the intricate top. Elvis immediately called, "Albaro." "It's perfect, Albaro, absolutely perfect." "Now, tell me about the diamonds. How many? Where would they go?" Albaro patiently explained his vision. He suggested outlining the TCB letters with a precise line of small, brilliant cut diamonds, letting them sparkle around the edges. Then for the lightning bolt, he proposed a series of larger, strategically placed diamonds that would make it truly flash. The combination would create a striking contrast between the polished gold and the dazzling stones. "I want it to blaze," Elvis said, his voice full of excitement. "Like a star exploding like pure energy. When I hit that stage, and the lights hit this ring, I want it to flash like lightning itself." Albaro took notes, his steady voice providing technical details. "We'll use only V's Clarity, DE color diamonds, Mr. Presley. Each stone will be hand-selected for its brilliance. The setting will be a custom, bezel-prong combination." Elvis didn't fully grasp all the technical terms, but he understood the dedication behind them. He trusted Albaro implicitly. This wasn't just about the design. It was about the feeling the design invoked. "And the inside of the band," Elvis mused, a sudden thought striking him. "Can we put something inside, a secret message?" "Of course," Albaro replied. "What would you like?" Elvis thought for a moment. "Something for the boys, something that ties us all together. Maybe the full motto, taking care of business in a flash, or maybe just the initials of our crew. Something that only I know is there, but reminds me of them always." They settled on engraving TCB, In a flash, along with a tiny, almost imperceptible lightning bolt inside the band, it would be a private detail, a subtle nod to the shared creed that fueled him and his team. This detail made the ring even more personal, more meaningful. It transcended mere adornment. It became a talisman. Over the next few weeks, Albaro sent updates. He sourced the gold a specific shade of yellow that Elvis preferred. He began meticulously selecting the diamonds, rejecting anything that didn't meet his exacting standards. He sent photographs of the initial wax mold, showing the detailed three-dimensional rendering of the TCB emblem. Elvis would pore over these photos, his imagination running wild. He'd show them to Priscilla, who admired the design. "Beautiful, Elvis," she'd say. "It looks so strong, so powerful, just like you." But for Elvis, it was more than just powerful. It was becoming an extension of his soul. He could feel it, almost taste it. The anticipation was intense, a low thrum beneath his constant activity. He found himself subconsciously rubbing his ring finger, imagining the weight of the gold, the cool precision of the diamonds. The void he'd felt before was slowly shrinking, replaced by a growing sense of purpose and excitement. This ring wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a statement, a symbol of his commitment to his craft, to his family, to his loyal crew, and to himself. It was a physical manifestation of his life's philosophy. The concept had taken shape, and now the crafting of a legend was about to begin. Every day brought him closer to holding his symbol, his creed, in his hand. Days bled into weeks, and Elvis's anticipation for the TCB ring grew with each passing update from Albaro. He was on tour, crisscrossing the country, performing to sold-out arenas. The energy of the crowds was exhilarating, but his mind often drifted back to the quiet workshop in Los Angeles, imagining Albaro hunched over his bench, bringing the TCB vision to life. Then, one evening, after a particularly electrifying show in Las Vegas, Joe handed him a small padded envelope. "Just came in, from Albaro." Elvis's heart gave a little thump. He tore it open carefully. Inside was not the finished ring, but something else. A small, meticulously crafted, sterling silver prototype of the TCB emblem. It was about the size of a thumbnail, a perfect miniature of the design they had finalized. The letters TCB were interlocked, and the lightning bolt sliced through them just as imagined. Elvis held it in his palm. It was cool and smooth, but the details were sharp, precise. He could feel the raised edges of the letters, the subtle curve of the lightning bolt. This wasn't the gold and diamonds, but it was it, the symbol. The very essence of his creed made tangible. For the first time, he felt an immediate, profound connection. It was almost like seeing his own spirit reflected in metal. This was what he had been searching for. The restlessness that had gnawed at him for months suddenly quieted. A sense of rightness settled over him. "Look at this, boys," he said, showing it to Joe and Charlie Hodge, who were in his suite. "This is it. This is TCB," Joe whistled. "Man, that's sharp. Really sharp. It looks fast, don't it?" Charlie nodded, his eyes wide. "It's strong, like it's got power in it." Elvis nodded, turning the silver emblem over and over in his hand. "It does. It's got all the power. It's for us boys, for all of us. This is what we do. We take care of business." He didn't just see a piece of metal. He saw his life's philosophy, his loyalty to his crew, his dedication to his music, all encapsulated in this tiny, perfect form. It was a promise, a pact. It was a reminder of their shared bond, their unshakable commitment to each other and to his career. He thought about the long nights on the road, the grueling schedule, the constant demands. This symbol, this TCB, was the answer to the void he'd felt. It was an anchor, a statement. It was a personal creed made manifest. "This ain't just going to be a ring," he declared, holding the emblem up to the light where it caught a faint sparkle even in silver. "This is going to be a standard, something we all live by, something that reminds us what we're about." He carefully placed the small silver prototype on his bedside table, picked it up several times that night, just to feel its weight, to trace its lines with his finger. He couldn't wait to see it in gold blazing with diamonds. He called Albaro the next morning, his voice brimming with excitement. "Albaro, you outdid yourself. The prototype is magnificent. It's exactly what I envisioned. More even. It's got soul." Albaro, ever understated, simply said, "I'm glad you approve, Mr. Presley. It was important to me that you felt the connection." The real work, the gold and diamonds, is progressing well. We're in the final stages of casting. And stone sitting. How long? "Albaro, how much longer?" Elvis asked, his impatience barely contained. "A few more weeks, Mr. Presley. Perfection takes time, but I promise you it will be worth the wait." Elvis believed him. He imagined putting on the ring for the first time, the feeling of the solid gold against his skin, the flash of the diamonds as he moved his hand. It wouldn't just be an accessory. It would be a part of him, a constant companion, a silent witness to every note he sang, every handshake he made, every decision he took. He felt a profound sense of gratitude to Albaro, the quiet artisan who had understood his vision so completely. This wasn't just a business transaction. It was a partnership in creating a powerful symbol. The silver prototype was just a glimpse, a tantalizing preview of the legend that was soon to be forged. The excitement was almost unbearable. He was falling in love with the idea of the ring, with what it represented, long before he even saw the finished product. This was more than just jewelry. It was destiny. The final weeks of the ring's creation felt like an eternity to Elvis. He was performing relentlessly, but his thoughts kept drifting to Albaro's workshop. He'd call Albaro almost daily, eager for updates. Sometimes just to hear the reassuring hum of the jeweler's voice, confirming the painstaking progress. Albaro, true to his word, provided meticulous details. First, the wax mold precise to the fraction of a millimeter, reflecting every curve and angle of the TCB design. This mold was encased in plaster, then heated until the wax melted away, leaving a perfect cavity. Then Mr. Presley Albaro explained over the phone, his voice calm and steady. 18 karat gold, heated to a molten state, over 1,900 degrees Fahrenheit. It's poured carefully into the mold. It comes to life in metal. Elvis listened, mesmerized, pictured the liquid gold flowing, taking the exact shape of his vision. It sounded almost magical, like alchemy. Once cool, the plaster was broken away, revealing the raw gold casting. "It's rough at this stage," Albaro continued, "a bit dull, but the form is there. Then begins the real work. Filing, sanding, polishing. Hours and hours of it to bring out the inherent luster of the gold. Every surface must be perfectly smooth." Elvis often found himself staring at his bare ring finger, imagining the weight of the finished TCB. He tried to visualize the gold gleaming, the diamonds catching the light. He knew it would be heavy, substantial, a man's ring, a king's ring. Albaro then moved the diamonds. He had personally sourced each one, ensuring they were of the highest clarity and brilliance. He laid them out on his workbench, hundreds of tiny shimmering points of light. "Each diamond is set by hand," Albaro explained, his voice conveying the precision required. "First, we create tiny channels or prongs in the gold for each stone. Then, with specialized tools, each diamond is carefully placed and the gold is meticulously pushed around it to secure it. It requires absolute focus, a steady hand, and an understanding of how each stone interacts with the light." Elvis imagined Albaro's spectacles on his nose, hunched over his bench, a magnifying glass in one eye, patiently setting each tiny perfect diamond. He knew this ring wasn't just being made. It was being breathed into existence, infused with the artisan's dedication. "How many diamonds?" Albaro. Elvis asked one day. "On this particular piece, Mr. Presley Albaro, reply will be 25 diamonds strategically placed to outline the TCB letters and form the lightning bolt plus, a special hidden diamond. Elvis loved that detail. It made the ring even more personal. A secret sparkle just for him. A quiet reminder of its deeper meaning. The days crawled by. Elvis paced more than usual. He ate less. Talked about the ring constantly to Priscilla, to the mafia, even to Colonel Parker, who usually only cared about contracts and money. Even the colonel surprisingly seemed intrigued by Elvis's almost childlike excitement. "Sounds like a mighty expensive piece of hardware, the colonel grumbled, but there was a hint of admiration in his voice. "You really want this thing, huh?" "More than anything, Colonel," Elvis replied, his voice firm. "It ain't just jewelry. It's me. It's what I stand for." Albaro's voice, calm as ever, announced, "It is finished, Mr. Presley. The TCB ring is complete. It is truly magnificent." Elvis felt a jolt like the very lightning bolt emblazoned on his ring. "I'm coming to LA Albaro today. Have it ready." He immediately chartered a private jet. Joe tried to talk him into waiting to let Albaro ship it, but Elvis wouldn't hear of it. He had to see it. He had to feel it. He had to hold the symbol of his creed in his own hands. The quest was almost over. The legend was waiting. Private jet touched down in Los Angeles with a soft thud, a mere whisper compared to the roar of a stadium crowd. Elvis was out of the plane before the stairs were fully deployed, his usual swagger amplified by an almost feverish anticipation. Joe followed close behind, accustomed to the king's sudden impulses. The drive to Albaro's workshop felt interminable. Each traffic light seemed to mock him, stretching the moments. Kept flexing his right hand, the very hand that would soon wear the symbol he had so intensely envisioned. When they finally pulled up to the unassuming workshop, Elvis barely waited for the car to stop before he was out and heading for the door. He pushed it open, the familiar scent of metal and creativity washing over him. Albaro was there as always, hunched over his bench. But as Elvis entered, he slowly straightened up, a rare, almost knowing smile on his face. He gestured toward a small, velvet-lined box resting on a clean cloth on his workbench. Elvis's eyes locked onto the box. It was a simple, elegant presentation, no flash, no ceremony, just a box. He walked towards it, his heart pounding a rhythm stronger than any drumbeat. He could almost feel the weight of the ring within, even without touching it. Albaro carefully opened the box, and there it was. It wasn't just a ring. It was a blaze of gold and diamonds, catching the dim light of the workshop and throwing it back in 1,000 tiny, dazzling sparks. The TCB letters, rendered in polished gold, seemed to leap from the surface, bold and powerful. The lightning bolt, a sinuous line of perfectly set diamonds, sliced through them, vibrant and alive. The entire piece glowed with an inner fire. Elvis felt a gasp catch in his throat. It was more magnificent than he had dared to imagine. The gold was richer, the diamonds more brilliant, the craftsmanship more exquisite than any sketch or photograph could convey. It was substantial, a heavy, solid piece of art. Albaro gently lifted it from the box, holding it between his thumb and forefinger. "Your TCB ring, Mr. Presley." Elvis reached out a trembling hand. He took the ring, feeling its unexpected weight, its cool solidity. He turned it over, examining every angle. The polished gold reflected the light, smooth as silk. The diamonds glittered, each one a tiny sun. He ran his thumb over the raised letters, then the lightning bolt, feeling the intricate precision of the setting. He then looked at the inside of the band. There, engraved subtly, almost secretively, were the words TCB in a flash, along with a tiny, perfect lightning bolt. And then, catching the light in a hidden recess, was the extra personal diamond. It was exactly as he had envisioned, and yet so much more. He slid the ring onto the ring finger of his right hand. It fit perfectly, a snug, comfortable weight. The moment it settled into place, Elvis felt a profound shift within him. It was as if a missing piece of his soul had finally found its home. The restlessness vanished entirely, replaced by a deep sense of completeness. He flexed his hand, and the diamonds exploded with light, a miniature galaxy on his finger. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a tangible representation of everything he believed in. It was his creed, his family, his drive, his identity, all forged into one powerful symbol. "Albaro," Elvis said, his voice husky with emotion. It's perfect. It's beautiful. You truly are a master." Albaro's eyes, usually so serious, crinkled at the corners. "It was an honor, Mr. Presley, to create something with such personal meaning." Elvis stared at the ring on his finger, his eyes welling up slightly. It was a peculiar kind of love he felt for this object. Not romantic love, but a deep, almost spiritual connection. It was an extension of himself, a powerful symbol of his life's work and his loyal heart. This wasn't just a ring he wore. It was a ring that became him. He held out his hand, admiring it, then clutched it to his chest. This was more than gold and diamonds. This was a promise, a declaration. This was taking care of business. Embodied, the legend had arrived. From the moment it settled on his finger, the TCB ring became an extension of Elvis Presley himself. He rarely took it off. It was more than an accessory. It was a constant, tangible reminder of his core values and the people he held dearest. The first person he truly showed it to beyond Albaro was Priscilla. He arrived back at Graceland, the ring flashing even in the subdued light of the grand hall. Priscilla, seeing the pure joy and deep satisfaction on his face, knew this was something special. "Oh, Elvis," she breathed, taking his hand gently. "It's magnificent. It shines like you do." She traced the TCB letters with her finger, admiring the intricate diamond work. "It really captures everything you said." Elvis beamed. "It does, Pris. It truly does. Every time I look at it, I remember what it's all about. Taking care of business for us, for our family, for everything." The Memphis Mafia's reaction was exactly what Elvis hoped for. When he gathered them in the den, their eyes widened as he held out his hand. "Boys," he announced, his voice filled with pride. "This is it. This is TCB for all of us. Man, that thing's a work of art, blazes like the sun." Joe Esposito nodded, a solemn expression on his face. "It's powerful, a real statement." Charlie Hodge, ever observant, noticed the subtle inscription inside the band. "TCB" in a flash, he read aloud, then looked up at Elvis, understanding dawning in his eyes. "That's for us, ain't it?" Elvis just smiled, a knowing glint in his eye. "Always, boys, always." The ring quickly became a part of Elvis's everyday persona. He'd absent-mindedly rub its smooth surface during quiet moments, or catch its flash during conversations. It was a comforting weight, a solid presence. He noticed subtle changes in himself, too. He felt a newfound sense of groundedness, a quiet confidence that wasn't just about his fame. The ring wasn't about showing off. It was about internal strength. When facing a tough decision, he found himself subconsciously turning the ring, drawing strength from its symbolism. It reminded him of his purpose, of his commitment to his craft, and to his unwavering loyalty to his inner circle. During recording sessions, he'd wear it, and it felt like an extra surge of energy flowed into his music. It was a reminder to take care of business in the studio, to pour every ounce of his soul into each track. He'd run his hand across the microphone, and the glint of the TCB ring would catch the studio lights, a private beacon. Even in casual moments, playing touch football with the guys, or riding his motorcycle, the ring remained. It was rugged enough to withstand his active life, yet elegant enough for the most formal occasion. It was a testament to Albaro's craftsmanship that it held up to Elvis's dynamic lifestyle. Colonel Parker, after his initial curiosity, started to see the ring not just as an expensive indulgence, but as a branding opportunity. "That TCB thing here," he'd say, "it's got a ring to it. No pun intended. People gonna recognize that." But for Elvis, it was far more profound than marketing. It was a personal emblem. It was about identity. It was about the creed he lived by, the loyalty he cherished, the passion he pursued. The ring had filled the void he'd felt. It had given form to his unspoken desires, a tangible connection to his deepest values. It was a constant companion, a silent witness, and a source of quiet power. It solidified his image, not just as the king of rock and roll, but as the man who truly lived by his word, taking care of business. And soon the world would see it blazing on his hand, a symbol of a legend. The buzz for Elvis's next string of performances was electric. He was returning to the stage, live after a successful run in movies, and anticipation was at an all-time high for Elvis, though this wasn't just another show. This was the moment his TCB ring would make its public debut. He felt a unique blend of excitement and quiet confidence. The ring, now a constant presence on his finger, felt like a part of him. It wasn't about showing it off to the audience. It was about feeling its power, its meaning as he performed backstage. The air crackled with energy. The Memphis Mafia moved efficiently, ensuring everything was in place. Elvis was in his dressing room, putting on his iconic jumpsuit, a dazzling white adorned with countless rhinestones that seemed to mirror the brilliance of his ring. He paused, drifted to his right hand to the TCB ring, gleamed under the harsh dressing room lights, the diamonds winking, the gold solid and powerful. He felt a surge of strength, a reaffirmation of purpose. This ring wasn't just a symbol for him, it was a symbol for his entire operation, for the commitment he made to his fans every time he stepped out there taking care of business. "All right, 5 minutes," Joe called from the doorway. Elvis took a deep breath, adjusted his scarf and walked out. The roar of the crowd was a physical force shaking the very foundations of the building. Thousands of voices, thousands of adoring fans waiting for their king. He stood in the wings, the energy of the audience washing over him. The familiar pre-show jitters were there, but this time they were tempered by the solid presence of the TCB ring. He clenched his hand, feeling the raised letters, the cool diamonds. It was an anchor in the storm of adoration. The music swelled, the lights dimmed, and then with a flourish, Elvis stepped onto the stage. The roar became deafening. Spotlights hit him, bathing him in a brilliant white glow. He launched into his first song, his voice powerful and commanding. As he moved, his hands flying, gesturing, holding the microphone, the TCB ring caught the stage lights in dazzling flashes. It wasn't consciously meant to be a display, but the sheer brilliance of the diamonds, the bold design of the gold, made it impossible to miss. Fans in the front rows, already mesmerized by his stage presence, started to notice, "Look at his ring. What is that, TCB?" Its distinct design, even from a distance, was captivating. It wasn't just a ring, it was a statement. For Elvis, the ring wasn't about the audience's reaction at this moment, it was about what it represented to him. Each powerful chord he strummed on his guitar, each dynamic move he made, each soaring note he hit, felt reinforced by the symbol on his hand. He was taking care of business in a flash on that stage. The ring felt like a source of endless energy, a conduit for his passion. As he sang a deep, resonant version of "Burning Love," he pointed to the crowd, his hand extended, and the TCB ring blazed like a miniature sun. The audience screamed, not just for the song, but for the sheer power and presence he exuded. The ring was there, a silent, blazing witness to his undeniable charisma. He knew with absolute certainty that this ring was meant to be with him on stage. It was a part of the performance, a part of the legend he was actively creating night after night. It wasn't just a piece of gold and diamonds. It was an embodiment of his commitment, his raw energy, his unique identity. By the end of the show, drenched in sweat but exhilarated, Elvis bowed to the thunderous applause. As he walked off stage, his hand instinctively went to his ring. The diamonds still sparkled, a quiet testament to the electrifying performance. The TCB ring had made its debut, not just as a piece of jewelry, but as an integral part of the king's persona, a symbol of his unwavering dedication to his craft and his crew. The world had just gotten its first glimpse of the legendary TCB. The TCB ring, once a personal quest, quickly became an iconic part of Elvis Presley's image. After its first public appearance, word spread like wildfire among his fans. And the media, everyone wanted to know, what was that powerful diamond-studded ring on Elvis's finger. What did TC mean? Elvis, ever the showman, embraced its growing fame. He began to explain the meaning behind the letters, not just as a motto for himself, but as a creed for his loyal friends and family, the Memphis Mafia. Taking care of business, he'd tell interviewers, that's what we do. We take care of each other, and we take care of the music, and we take care of the fans. Soon, the symbol wasn't just on his ring. Elvis began commissioning other pieces, TCB necklaces for his close friends and family, belt buckles, even lightning bolt, logos on his private jet and cars. The TCB became a brand, a symbol of loyalty, excellence, and the distinct Elvis Presley way of life. But for Elvis himself, the original TCB ring remained the most special. It was the first, the one that filled the void, the one that was born from a deep personal need. He wore it almost constantly, a permanent fixture on his right hand. It was there for every electrifying concert, every recording session, every quiet moment at Graceland, every new movie premiere. He'd often catch himself looking at it, especially during challenging times. Weight was a comfort, its sparkle a reminder of the inner fire he carried. It symbolized his unwavering commitment to his music, his generosity to those he loved, and his relentless drive to be the best. It was a constant source of strength, a touchstone in the whirlwind of his extraordinary life. The ring represented his core philosophy. Don't just exist, live with purpose. Don't just sing, perform with your whole soul. Don't just have friends, build a family, take care of business, and do it with passion and loyalty. Over the years, many other pieces of jewelry would come and go, some grander, some more ornate, but none ever held the same profound significance as his first TCB ring. It was more than gold and diamonds. It was the embodiment of his identity, the physical manifestation of his creed. It was the first tangible expression of taking care of business and what that truly meant to Elvis. Even after his passing, the TCB ring remained a powerful symbol, became an instantly recognizable emblem for his fans worldwide, representing not just Elvis Presley, but the ideals he stood for: dedication, loyalty, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. It was and remains a piece of jewelry intertwined with a legend, telling a story not just of flash and fame, but of deep personal meaning and a life lived with passion. The heartwarming story of Elvis falling in love with his first TCB ring wasn't a romantic tale in the traditional sense, but a profound connection to an object that symbolized his very essence. It was the story of a king restless in his fame, finding a tangible anchor for his spirit, a symbol that resonated with his heart and soul. It was a story of a personal creed forged in gold and diamonds and forever etched into the legacy of the king of rock and roll. And every time a fan saw that blazing TCB, they understood a little more about the man, the legend, and the philosophy that truly drove him. Taking care of business in a flash,